and Blue, a play on the phrase tried and true. The Erland Tried and Blue blog and podcast covers past and current successes that prove how effective and reliable our construction management services are. Welcome to the Tried and Blue podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Harrison. Today I'll be talking with 3 Erland team members about what drew them to the construction industry and any advice they may have for those looking to join this exciting field. But before we get started, Debora, Ryan, and Mike, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Debora, you're up first.
Hi, I'm Debora. I am an assistant PM here at Erland. In my free time, you will be finding me at outdoors, maybe on a hike. I like to go snowboarding in the winter, but I also like downtime, maybe watching TV, and so it would really depend on the day.
Great. And Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Duval. I'm an assistant project manager here at Erland. I'm from Boxford, Massachusetts. For hobbies, I like to stay active. During the summers, find me on my mountain bike, find me out golfing, trying not to get frustrated, but been a tough year so far. Then in the winters, find me out on the mountains, skiing, playing hockey also. So always trying to keep myself active, and keep myself busy.
Awesome. Mike, you're next.
Hi everyone, Mike Damigella. I'm a superintendent here at Erland, currently working on our project up in Beverly, Depot Square. Originally from Waltham, Massachusetts. I went to Wentworth for civil engineering. Typically throughout the year you can find me golfing, playing hockey, going to the gym, or cooking.
Well, you have to cook for us sometime, Mike. Thanks for letting us get to know you a little bit better. Now let's take that a step further. Debora, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Growing up, I wanted to be different things at different stages. I wanted to be a teacher and then a judge. I actually wanted to be a judge when I was a kid, but I never thought I would be working in construction really until I started.
That's awesome. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, similar to Deb, kind of if you ask me at different phases of my childhood, I'd probably give you a different answer. There was a time where I was obsessed with, like Steve Irwin, if I could speak. Anything wildlife related, something, in the wildlife field would have been cool at one point to me. And then I had a phase where I was really obsessed with NASA and, outer space. So at one point I probably would have said being an astronaut. And, but one that probably would have been accurate probably throughout all my childhood, and honestly, even up until this day. Wish I was a professional hockey player, but obviously not that good. So, but yeah, ended up in construction. So here we are.
And last but not least, Mike, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, like everyone else, it varied, different stages of childhood, but up through high school, I actually wanted to go to school, medical school, and work in sports medicine, but ended up in construction, kind of where my roots were. I was looking at going for architecture, but when my artistic ability was not that great, math and science were more of my strong suits, I ended up in civil engineering and now the construction management industry.
It really is funny how things change from when you're a kid to now. But I'm glad our paths brought us all here to Erland. All right, let's jump into today's discussion. Debora, how long have you been working in the AEC industry?
I have been working in the industry for about 5 years, but I've just started at Erland about 2 months ago.
And Ryan, how about you?
So I first started back in the AEC industry back in 2016 with my first co-op at a large GC. That was back when I was at college at Wentworth, just like a lot of people in this industry are, just like Mikey is, a lot of Wentworth people. Since then I did a number of other co-ops while I was still in college, and then obviously became full-time in the industry once I graduated.
And Mikey, how long have you been working in the industry?
Along with Ryan, I was a Wentworth graduate. I graduated in 2016 with a degree in civil engineering. Right after graduation, I took an offer at Erland, so I've been here just over 5.5 years. But like Ryan said, with our co-ops, I had a couple co-ops while I was at Wentworth, and during those, I was able to distinguish which route I wanted to end up taking after graduation.
Awesome. Debora, how did you get started in construction?
So, like I said before, I've never really thought about working for construction until a friend of mine recommended me for a job. It was actually a job, an administrative assistant And that's how I started. I was doing this role for about a year until I saw the opportunity to work with the projects. And then been doing that since.
Oh, that's great. Ryan, how did you get your start?
Yeah, so I really followed in my father's footsteps. He also went to Wentworth for college, and once he graduated from college, he started his own construction company. It was a small residential company doing remodels, renovations, additions, things like that. And right after I was born, my father and my mother bought a 200-plus-year-old house. Like I said, he got that when I was about 2 months old. And once he got the property, he put a big addition on the old house, connecting it into a barn that was on the property. So, my first few years of life I spent in a house under construction. And even when the house was done, I always was around construction with my dad. So I was always interested in it. When I was, I think, 4 or 5, I forgot how old I was, but I had a construction themed birthday party around then. My dad had a dump truck at the time. And he went down to the yard, got a few yards of sand in the back of the dump truck, and my parents made a bit of a treasure hunt in the back of the kind of sand pit he made with the dump truck. And it was, like Tonka trucks, little mini excavator toys, things like that. So then he drove us around the yard in the back of the pickup truck or the dump truck. So I've always had an interest in it. I've always been surrounded by it. Once I was probably old enough, probably around the age of 12, my mom finally let me start going and working with him in the summers. So once I started doing that, every summer, school vacations, sometimes on the weekends, I'd be working with my dad at whatever projects he had going on. And, I did that all the way up until I started doing co-ops when I was at Wentworth. So it's kind of funny because I never did a formal job application or a job interview until I was a sophomore in college because I just always worked with my dad. But it's kind of a long way of saying I've just always been around construction, and thanks to my father, that's how I got my start here.
It's so funny that somehow that career wasn't one of the ones you thought about when you were a kid.
Right.
But glad that you ended up in the field. And Mikey, how did you get your start in construction?
Along with Ryan, I was kind of brought up around construction. My dad owns a plumbing company, so we were always going to work with my dad when we were younger. And I liked looking around at, whether it was houses or commercial jobs that were under construction and seeing what all the other trades were doing, flipping through any of the plans that were kicking around. So that's where it kind of started to really pique my interest. We were the type of house too that there was always a project going on. So when we weren't working with my dad, we were, there was always something going on at the house that we were involved in, remodeling, doing stuff in the yard. And I was the type of kid when I was younger, if any of my neighbors were doing stuff too, I was over at my neighbor's house giving them a hand. So, you don't really think about this stuff when you're younger and what you want to be when you grow up. And it, like Ryan mentioned, it kind of, you end up being in it years later. So it's kind of funny how it comes around like that.
Yeah, getting all this experience before you even know that's what you want to do. Okay, so back to Debora. What is your role at Erland?
I am an assistant PM here at Erland.
And what does a typical week look for you?
I usually attend weekly meetings, which nowadays is more a Zoom kind of meeting. I go to the job site once a week sometimes. I tend to get a lot of emails and getting the paperwork together, submittals, RFIs, some of the contracts. That's basically most of my time here at the office.
Great. And Ryan, I know you're also an assistant project manager. So what does your typical week look like for you?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm APM here. I split my time between 2 of our projects in the residential group. One of them is our 4th Ave Burlington job. The other one is the Depot 2 project, which Mikey is out in the field working with me on that one. But, a typical week for me, Mondays and Tuesdays are big meeting days between the 2 jobs. We have all of our owner architect meetings, our submittal RFI review calls with the design teams. We have our PM foreman meetings for the job. So feels like Monday and Tuesdays I spend most of the day on Zoom and trying to keep up with emails. Wednesday through Friday, a little bit more freed up from meetings, so I actually get time to, similar to Deb, kind of handle some of the document management part of construction that the project management team deals with. So, getting contracts out, reviewing, issuing change orders, going through submittals, putting in RFIs, all the kind of the back of house stuff that lets the field guys actually put the construction in place.
Great. And Mikey, what is your role and what does a typical week look like for you?
I'm a superintendent here, so it's a lot of the daily field operations between quality, safety, sequencing the work, updating the schedule. And the site I'm on right now in Beverly is a downtown urban area, so there's a lot of focus on the site logistics. It's a very tight site, managing all the deliveries up to the hour almost. So just making sure that everything runs smoothly out here on a day-to-day basis. Typical week, so I'm on one project. I go to the same project every day. And it depends on the stage of the project, but we're the boots on the ground. We're the ones out here getting the information to the office and getting information from the office about what has to go on, making sure everything is done safely so that everyone can go home at the end of the day.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. All right, Debora, what is your favorite thing about working in construction?
I think my favorite thing about working in construction is that it never gets boring. So each project is different. Each stage of the project is also different. I feel like there's always an opportunity to learn. Even if you've been doing the work for many years, there's still a point where you have something new to learn. So I think that's my favorite thing about it.
I definitely agree with that. Ryan, what would you say your favorite thing is?
Yeah, similar to Deb, I'd say my favorite thing about it is really just that I feel like every day is always a little bit different. Coming to work with a list of things that, I want to get done, and then a whole bunch of other things come up and, might not ever get back to them, but it can be frustrating at times, but it is all nice, things are always changing, it's kind of keeps things interesting, keeps you on your toes. And, I like the construction industry because, I never saw myself as, being someone just sitting behind a computer all day in an office. I like getting to go out to the field, walk the site with Mikey, walk the site with the guys out in the field, see what's going on, and, actually see the building actually become a building from, a pile of dirt to a finished building.
Absolutely. I mean, I still remember seeing the first completed project I was involved with at Erland, and how cool that was to see it completed. And Mike, what's your favorite thing?
For me, I really enjoy the challenges and the people. So for the challenges, whether it's the site or the design, there's always stuff that keeps you on your toes that you have to be looking out for. And the people too, especially out here in the field, we're dealing with our trade partners, the client, inspectors, the design team. So you always have to be kind of versatile with who you're communicating with and adapting to new situations. And like Ryan said, it's not like you're in an office and you're going to the same place every day. For us, every year, every couple of years, our site will change, and you get to go do it all over again.
So true. Debora, what about your job motivates you the most?
I guess it's almost the same thing. I guess I get motivated by new opportunities and new learning lessons each day, knowing that I will come across something new, something different. I guess that motivates me.
And Ryan, what about you?
I think what motivates me is, just thinking down the road and thinking what the project's going to be when it's at that final stage, when we're, cutting the ribbon so people can walk into the building. Yeah, I think, really just for me, working in the residential group, thinking of, people walking in and making these apartments their homes and living there, and having, in our case, some pretty nice buildings that they're living in with pretty nice amenities. So I think getting to the finish line is on each of the jobs and seeing how the projects come together is what motivates me.
Oh, that's great. And Mike, what would you say motivates you the most?
Yeah, same as what Debora and Ryan were mentioning. It's that start to finish. We're changing the built environment and what people see every day. So it's the work you're putting out there is seen by so many people, and then people end up living in it. We take rundown buildings and empty lots, and we're able to create communities and neighborhoods. So it's always fun to look back and say, oh wow, I remember when we were standing down in a big dirt hole, and now you have people on a courtyard jumping in a pool or cooking on a grill, and for me in the res group, these people are making these buildings their homes and creating their lives inside of these structures.
Oh, definitely. I think too, part of it is, working alongside your colleagues who are, especially for you guys on these res jobs, and you're on them for, 2 years, even longer sometimes. They kind of really do become your family and friends, and just crossing that finish line together makes it even more sweeter.
Yeah, it really ends up being a grind out here. So that the team that you're with becomes, your friends, your family. You care for these people, and you're all pushing for that same goal at the end, and you want to get it done. And it's fun to look back and see what you ended up doing. And now every job has its challenges and highs and lows, and the people that you're surrounded with really keep you going every day.
Yep, definitely a big part of Erland's culture. Debora, what are you likely to be doing on a Saturday when you're not working?
So again, it could be really an active Saturday. I could go for a hike, for a bike ride, or just staying at home, eating something good and just watching TV. I also really like going out to eat at restaurants. I also like to go to my friend's house, just be there doing nothing. So
yep. See, I'll say it again. We have to have Mikey cook for us if we all like to go. We like to eat.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Let me know what you guys like. I'll put something together.
Gotta start cooking out on site, Mikey.
Okay. And Ryan, what are you likely to be doing on a Saturday when you're not working?
So on a Saturday, if I'm not at work, good chance I have my mountain bike on the roof of my car, heading up to one of the bike parks around here during the summers. Kind of a new hobby I've gotten into, but something I've always been interested in doing. So been doing that a bunch lately. If I'm not mountain biking, good chance I could be going out to the golf course, trying to get around in with some of my friends. Definitely would not classify myself as a great golfer, but I have a good time playing it. If it's not, the summer, if it's more winter time of year, I'll be probably driving up to one of the mountains somewhere, in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, to go skiing with some of my friends. So always just trying to do something active, even though I did just list off a lot of kind of activities I do. I am kind of a bit of a homebody. I do like having some time at home, just relaxing. So every once in a while, I'll mix in a lazy weekend and a lazy Saturday. So maybe I'll just be at home on the couch watching some Netflix.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, we're also go in the construction industry. It is nice to be active on the weekends, but it's also nice to just have one of those weekends where you just don't move from the couch. Mikey, what about you? What do you like to do on Saturdays when you're not working, if you're ever not working?
Yeah. Typically the sites are open on Saturday, so a lot of the times we are working. But when you have a bigger team, it's nice that you can rotate the Saturdays to get some free time in. So, like Debora and Ryan, I'm pretty active as well. It depends on the season for me. Summer Saturdays will be on the golf course. Winter, been getting back into skiing now after not having done it in a few years. So, but it is nice, like you were saying, after we're go so much during the week and long hours. It is nice to have the occasional Saturday just to chill.
Okay, awesome. Debora, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I definitely see myself in this industry. I want to, of course, the next step for me in the career would be to become a PM. That's what I look forward in the next years to come. I hope to continue to grow, learn.
Ryan, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like a soundboard for Deb, but similar to Deb being an APM right now, obviously the next step for me is taking the step to being a project manager. So 3 to 5 years from now, I hope to see myself as a PM here in the residential group, kind of running some of my own work. I know obviously it'll be a gradual increase, so I'm sure I'll probably mix in on some other jobs here or there, but in 3 to 5 years, I'd love to see myself being a PM on, a good sized apartment building like the 2 projects I'm currently working on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very exciting. And Mike, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Erland's a great place to grow your career, so I see myself staying here. They have a lot of great work in the pipeline, so hopefully they'll be keeping me busy, whether it's on a large scale project with a bigger team or running some of my own smaller projects as a super on my own.
Awesome. Debora, if there's anything you could go back and do differently, what would that be?
So it really took me a while to find construction and to find the industry. So I guess if I look back, one of the things that I would do differently, it would be to really start this career path earlier. But at the same time, I think like we all have our path, our life, and how everything comes together somehow. So
I think at Erland, it's pretty 50-50 here, with people either starting construction right away when they're in college, or they like grew up in some kind of construction related job, so they knew about construction, or the other half of us had like no idea until they started at Erland. So it really is a mix here. Ryan, for you, is there anything you would go back and do differently, and what would that be?
Yeah, so if, I were to do anything differently, I'm pretty happy with where I've ended up here. I'm on a couple of great projects, a couple of great teams, love all the people I'm working with. But I think really one thing that would have been more of a benefit, and it was something I had, thought about and even tried looking into, but just didn't work out, was get a little bit more kind of diversity with my co-ops I did when I was at Wentworth still, because Mike, you probably will say the same thing. That program, the co-op program Wentworth does, really is great because it allows you to get out and get almost a sense of what it's like, working a full-time role, and you get 3 different stints of it at least. So I would have liked to have maybe, done a co-op, being on like the owner's side, being like getting the owner's PM side of it, just so being in my shoes now, I can kind of have a better kind of understanding and respect of what things are like for them in their shoes. But no, I mean, wouldn't change a lot. Pretty happy where I ended up.
No, that's a really good point, and something for other people that are, doing their co-op programs right now to consider. So that was really helpful. Mikey, if there's anything you could go back and do differently, what would that be?
Honestly, like they were saying, I don't really think there is much I would go back and change. I was just thinking about what Ryan said about doing different co-ops, but I kind of liked how I did 2 different varying co-ops, because then I was able to figure out like what I didn't want to do, because my 2 co-ops were vastly different. One, I was in an office doing something more design related, and then my other co-op was in the field on a larger civil construction project. So I'm pretty happy where I'm at. I think everything's going really good. Erland's a great place to be.
Awesome. All right, now I think we're on to our last question here. So, Debora, what is some advice you could offer to an individual just getting started in the AEC industry?
I think be patient. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming and it can be a little too much, but everything comes together at the end, and it's just really just like building a building. So with the career and with the path, I would say be patient, don't give up. And I guess for people that are already in, I would say just try to find some balance. Sometimes you can get very stressed and really keep thinking about the work. So I would say a little balance.
Oh, that's really great advice. And Ryan, what is some advice you would offer?
Yeah, everything Deb's just said, those are all real good points and kind of what I was going to be saying, something along the lines of, so I'll try to change it up a little bit more. But no, really, I think it's just important for people that coming into the industry to know that, it's okay to kind of take a step back and breathe and, digest the situation before you, spit something out of your mouth that, you wish you didn't say and, you can't take back once it's out. So it's a very fast-paced industry, but, you have to take the time to think things through, and a lot of problems that come up, it's not a quick solution. It's probably going to take some time to think of all the things that might be affected or, be involved, but, taking the time for figuring things out is okay. And, it's something that needs to happen. And if, it's tough because, like I said, it's such a fast paced industry, but I think it's just important to know that it's good to kind of take the time to really fully investigate things and know that everyone's doing it, so it's not a bad thing to be taking your time.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It is such a fast-paced industry and we're so connected. You're constantly, you get emails to your phone, people are texting, calling you all the time. And it is important to kind of take your time with coming up with an answer or even to Deborah's point, just finding that balance where you step away from your work when you need to and then come back to it, obviously, when you have to get it done. So really good advice. Okay, Mike, what is some advice you could offer?
Like Ryan said, how it's fast paced and really involved, and how he was saying, take your time with stuff. I would just tell people, you're not alone. Not one person's not going to do the whole project. There's groups of people, and don't feel like you're on an island. Ask questions, do your research, try and absorb as much as you can. But at the end of the day, you're not out here solo. It takes a lot. It might feel like a lot on a person, but we're all in it together. Show up early, stay late. Try and get your hands in a bunch of different things so that you can start to understand what's going on. And a big thing I think is huge is getting involved outside your role. The AEC industry in Greater Boston is a great community, networking and seminars. So just kind of continuing education and being immersed in everything that's going on around you. But like Deb said, you can't forget to have that relaxation and that balance so that you can kind of recharge the batteries and come back on Monday morning ready to go and do it all over again for the whole week.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that, Mike. I definitely think people should utilize their network and go beyond, just the company they work for and expand to other organizations that have people in your same role, but they might work for a different company, because sharing that outside perspective is super helpful too. And yes, I think we'll all enjoy the weekends as much as we can. Just get that break from work. Well, it's been great having you all on this month's podcast. Thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Nicole.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nicole. It was a fun time being on here.
That's it for today's Tried and Blue. We hope you join us next time for another exciting sit down with other Erland team members and even maybe some special guests. Keep checking our website to tune in.